Welcome everyone to this video. In this video, we'll be looking at vibrance and saturation. It's gonna be a fun one, so let's just get right into it. So I've opened up two images in Photoshop, and if you want to use these exact same images, the link will be in the description below. So now let's start. To apply vibrance to this image, we have to go to this icon again and then vibrance. So we have made a vibrance adjustment layer. So now let's just double click on it, and here it is, vibrance and saturation. So we talked about saturation in the previous video, and I just told you that saturation intensifies the colors of the image. So here you can see, if I move it, it just intensifies all the colors. But if I just move the saturation to 0 and put vibrance to 100, you will see that it is also intensifying colors. So what's the difference? How can I know when to use vibrance and saturation? So I'll explain it to you now. So what vibrance is doing? No. First, let's know what saturation is doing. So saturation is just intensifying all the pixels, like all the colors in the image. Whoops. Whereas vibrance here, if I just move saturation to 0, yes, so let's say here you can see that this portion of the house is already saturated and does not need any saturation, but the water does. So now if I move the vibrance slider, just focus on this part of the house, it will not get intensified, or the colors of it will not get intensified. Here you can see I'm moving it, the water's color are getting intense, but the colors of this side of the house are just the same. So it just affects the colors that are not dull, no, that are dull, and it does not affect the colors that are already very saturated. So that is what vibrance is, and most of the times I'll be using vibrance because that's a better option, because it does not handle the colors that are already saturated, and it's a better option as saturation is really strong. So if I just move saturation, like, it's really strong, and you can see the image starts becoming unrealistic. Here you can see there's too much color, but vibrance, even if I put it to like 80 or 100, it's still looking a bit realistic. So that's why I like vibrance, and that's the difference between vibrance and saturation. Maybe we can use saturation when all the image is dull and there's no bright color, then we can use saturation to intensify all the colors, because saturation affects all the pixels. So now let's try this thing on another image. So I have this image right here, and now let's click here, vibrance. So here we can see this portion of the image, like this sunset or these orange, like mountains, hills kind of things, islands, here we can say, like these are already saturated. So if I move the vibrance, here you can see they are exactly same, but the water is getting saturated. Here you can see, if I move it to 0 and then 100, the water is getting saturated, but these are not getting saturated that much. They are also getting saturated, but not to that level. Now if I just move vibrance to 0 and then saturation to 100, here you can see they're like, the colors are bleeding, they're not looking realistic, and it's just not looking good on this image. So that's why I prefer vibrance. So just put it to up to like 50 something or 30 something, and that's like, that gets the job done. So this is what saturation and vibrance are. In the next video, we'll be looking at lasso and what are the different types of lasso. So I'll meet you there.